Well, once upon a time, I was scheduling a class. It was called Depression Forever. Nobody came. I felt very depressed about it, Tried to do some good in the world and nobody is interested. What I mean to say is depression works. And you just have to look around. There's many people where it works. And it's fairly simple how it works. So I'll just explain to you first how it works. So whenever you feel like having a little depression, you know what to do. It's a matter of freedom. If you want to have a day off, have the perfect excuse not to do your job, then you just say, oh, I'm depressed. But you can't really fake that, right? People will say, oh no, you're not depressed, you're looking fine. So you have to kind of be able to really do it. So I'll just explain in short how to do it. It's fairly simple. So all you have to do is think about your problems. We all have problems, so just pick a few of them. You don't even need all of them, It's just a few of them. And what you do is that you fully identify with those problems. You don't think, oh, I made a mistake. No, you think I'm a loser. That will really work. Because then you're not just going to make this one mistake, you're going to make many mistakes. So that's already a very good reason for being depressed. There's no way out. You're a loser. So, and then once you're feeling, down with that, you should not yet rest because, you have to watch out because hope can come. And so you can't believe in that, obviously, there's no hope in depression. But still it will come, and to be sure that you don't fall for it, what you need is a good addiction. That's what will really seal your depression, so that you can truly be depressed forever. You just need an addiction because there's nothing better than an addiction to take away your self-confidence. Addiction means that you are enslaved to something, that you have no control over yourself. When this something comes by, you want it. Even when it doesn't come by, you think about it and you try to get it. So that shows you quite definitely what a loser you are. So whenever a little hope develops, if you have that addiction, surely that little energy of this hope will convert into the desire for that addiction, and then again you can feel depressed. So that's really how to do it. That's really how to stay depressed forever whenever you are interested in that. So, once upon a time, and this is not a story, one of my friends, a good friend of mine, he became depressed for about 3 years. So obviously I tried to help him and talk to him about all his problems. And many people tried, but nothing seems to work. The more we were talking about those problems, the bigger they became. And the more he became depressed, and he stopped working and he stopped coming out of his apartment, and so he was in that. So he tried many therapists, and they also were, professionally digging deep into his problems and bringing it all out, and it all became just bigger, and the depression just became more strong. And then one day he went to another therapist, some lady. So she said, okay, you're depressed, well, what's the problem? So he explained to her his problems. And then she said, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm a professional therapist. The problems that you have are problems that everybody has. There's nothing really special I can do here. Dig out some, childhood abuse or whatever, that may be the cause of it. You've just given up. Stop giving up. Only you can get you out of this depression. And he stepped out of the door of the lady's office and he was out of it. He really had understood, okay, yes, it is my choice. So whatever else I'm going to be explaining today about the, nice details that, are there about depression and how to get out of it, this is just what you have to remember. Nobody can help you. I mean, they can help you, but not if you don't help yourself. Not if you don't, first of all, say, okay, I really want to get out. I am going to get out. That you stop believing that you are a loser and that you believe that you can get out, that we are actually all the same and that we can all do the same things and that we can learn and we can grow and we can get out of all these problems and, have a good life. That's basically how you get out of a depression. If you don't have that, then you have nothing. Then no therapy will work, no pill will work, nothing will work. So that's the main thing. I mean, I don't want to be unkind to people who feel depressed. I feel sorry for them. I feel compassion for them. But I know that's not what is going to help them. I mean, it can help them a little bit. But what really is going to help them is actually to be a little bit strict with them. I mean, depression is like putting your head up your behind and then complaining about the darkness and the bad smell. That's depression, So that's maybe a little tough what I'm saying now, but that's truly what it is. You can have problems, but you don't have to swim in them. You don't have to dive in them. You don't have to embrace them and think they're the only thing. So this is the main thing, really, that you have to understand. You hold the key, both for depression as for getting out of it. Like sometimes people, they can become depressed because they're in a situation and they can't get out of it. Maybe, in work or in marriage or something, they're stuck and they feel they cannot get out of it, they become depressed. Same story. I mean, you have to tell them, forget about it, get out. You can always get out. But they don't, they get stuck, they get, caught in it, and they feel they cannot get out, so they cannot get out. For 30 years maybe, they cannot get out. But sure, you can get out. So, anyway, but this is generally speaking, and now we can look at the details and the signs behind it. So then we come to this rasa, this essential emotional energy, which is called Vibhatsya in Sanskrit, and which has many translations, but the most used translation is disgust. Like when you feel something dirty is there, your nose goes like this, and this is disgust. You feel disgusted. So this is actually the basic feeling, because depression is a feeling. You feel like that. You feel disgust. You feel there's no solution. You feel empty. You feel that you are a loser. So this you can't help if it comes. You can't help that if such a feeling comes. Like, let's say you dropped your laptop and it's broken. Then that is what you will feel. You will feel, but the choice that you have is, do you want to dive into that, or do you want to just accept what happened and try to do better next time? I don't know, put it with a chain around your neck or something, whatever, make amends, but not to dive into it. And so anyhow, this rasa has many forms. So there can be just a little bit of disappointment, dissatisfaction for some reason. There can be maybe shame, feeling of guilt about what you have done wrong. And there definitely also can be quite a lot of self-pity evolving from that. Poor me. There's nowhere where the poor me ego is so strong as in depression. So when it really becomes depression, it means it evolves from just a feeling to a certain psychological state of being, in which actually the feeling of disgust is not the only feeling present, but it will definitely be the central feeling, the dominant feeling. But rasa science says quite clearly that it is quite impossible to stay in one and the same rasa for a very long time. Rasa is a kind of energy. When you are in that state, the energy gets used, and so it gets used up. And at some point, you just don't have that energy anymore to stay in that mood, and then you need some other mood. So that's also interesting to know. If you're feeling a little bit down, know that this is temporary, as long as you don't dig into it. As long as you don't make it any bigger, it will also pass. But what people in a depression then do is that for just a short while, they go to another negative feeling. Like maybe they will go to fear. Very often they will go to fear. Because when we are in a depression, we don't do our job. We basically don't take care for our things. So then at some point fear will come for the consequences of our actions. So then we stay in this fear for a little while. That energy also gets used up, then we can again jump back into our depression. Or maybe a little sadness will come, feeling of loneliness or something, anger, not so easy in depression, but it can come, but not so easy, because basically you are angry at yourself. Then it becomes more difficult to be angry at other people. So basically it is a state of low energy, of dull energy, and it can definitely also make a person rather vulgar. If it is continued, this will make the person quite disgusting to other people also. Because this person will lose all values, will lose all worth, will lose all interest, and will just, do whatever it pleases, because anyhow it doesn't believe in anything anymore, and it definitely doesn't believe in him or herself. So even certain crimes that are really quite over the top are associated with this state of depression. You can steal because you are hungry. This is one kind of crime, but it's very different than, you're just killing somebody not because you need to, because somehow you want to. This is all coming out of this same rasa. So some of the main spectacular crimes are coming out of this feeling. Basically that is what is at the basis of it. But of course most people who are depressed, they are basically trying to remain relatively nice to people. They don't want to annoy other people with their problem. They just stay with it themselves and feel bad about themselves. That's what happens to most people. But so the essence of it is negative identification. You have a problem and you feel that you are this problem. You feel that this problem is attached to you and that you cannot let it go. And precisely because that is what you think, you cannot let it go. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy of the wrong kind. There are many of the good kind, but it's a belief. Like any religious belief, it is also a belief, but a very negative kind of belief. A belief that you are useless, a belief that you are maybe a bad person, and that this will never go away. A belief that you are maybe a shy person, and that this will never go away. And all these things. You find certain characteristics in yourself, which may very well be there, and you think, that's it, that's how I am. So this identification is really a big problem. And what happens then, if we look at the koshas, the different layers of consciousness, is that in depression, the ego has this ostrich attitude, right? It puts its head in the ground. It no longer wants to be the king. Normally the ego is the king who is in charge. So the ego then becomes a little bit like a coward and runs away and leaves the country, which is the body, and mind, which is the administration, to run everything. Well, okay, if you know a little bit about mind, and you give mind, the job to rule things, then mind is not going to make, a lot of sense. It's going to just want to have fun. And then that's also what happens in depression. People who are in depression, very often you will see that they are continuously trying to bombard themselves with sensory input. These days, usually TV. They just watch TV and watch TV and watch TV, and they can't turn it off, because the moment they turn it off, their problem comes back, right? So they want to have all these stories and things, and they're even bored to hell with it. But still they are looking at it, still they are focused on it, because they are completely caught up in mind. And the moment they would stop this input, their mind starts bringing up the real problem, which is that maybe for 2 weeks they've not come out of their house and not seen anybody and not done what they should do. So they can't really face it at this time. So mind just then feels, okay, why look at all these troublesome things, and let's just enjoy ourselves. And that's also then, of course, where addiction comes in. No? Where addiction to TV, addiction to taste. No? Many depressed people get addicted to sugar, sweet, chocolate, all these things, because also there the taste gives this kind of good feeling to mind, so that the bad feeling a little bit like goes away. No? And then obviously drugs, alcohol, etc., they do there. So, and as I said, this is then also another reason to remain depressed. Because you feel addicted, and again you are identifying with that addiction. Addiction is all about identification. If you think you are an alcoholic, then really you are an alcoholic. I mean, at some point an alcoholic must probably accept that he's an alcoholic. But actually he should not accept that he's an alcoholic, because then he'll remain like that forever. He should accept that he has an alcohol problem. He should accept that he has an alcohol addiction, sure. But not identify with it. Not feel that is me, that is how I am, that is who I am. Because then he is stuck. So this then comes, adharma comes. This feeling leads to adharma, to going against your natural role, to not going to the toilet when you have to, not, to go against your body, to go against your relationships, to go against your job, to go against the law, to go against everything. Because you are feeling useless anyhow. You have nothing more to lose. You have already lost everything, so you don't care. No? So that is how you can really get stuck there. So, the true title of this class is obviously Depression Never Again. So, that is really quite possible. If you understand how this game works, then you can easily see it coming. This feeling may come. Sure, and I think most people, when they drop a laptop and it's broken, they'll feel a little bit like, no, that's natural. That's just your whole system which reacts to this little mistake that you make. But what you really can't stop is to get attached to that, to go into that, to dive into that. That is your choice. And if you make that choice, then you will really never be depressed again. I mean, sometimes we may feel a little tired. We may feel like, whoa, it's been a big, difficult day, and now my coffee machine isn't working, and, well, can't it please stop? I need some rest. And sure, then you need some rest. Then you need to relax. Then you maybe even need some deep rest. But you don't need to be depressed. There's a difference between deep rest and being depressed. Being depressed is not rest. It's just a bigger problem. Understand that, this feeling only makes a small problem into a big problem, and a big problem into a huge problem. So you can't do it. In Vedic tradition, there are many deities, many gods, and there are also many demons. And this demon of Vibhatsya is regarded as the most ugly, the most bad, the most negative demon of all. And I've seen pictures of it. It's really like very ugly monster, Some of these demons actually look quite good. But this one is really like awful. It's not helpful at all. You can say anger has a purpose. It gives you a little bit like fire to defend yourself if you need that and can't do it without. Okay, then anger has a little bit of a purpose. And fear has also some purpose. It makes you more careful. It maybe makes you do your job better or something. And sadness is also quite a natural feeling that you get when you have to let go of something. But this depression, is no use. I mean, okay, if you drop your laptop, you can feel, okay, next time I'll do better. And that's all you can do with that. To go any further into the feeling is no help at all. It's just plain useless. Shit happens. I mean, it's accept. You know in advance. That's life. There's life and death. Might as well get depressed when you're dying. No, what's the use? You know that already now. It's going to happen one day. So why make a big thing out of it? So anyhow, there's of course many different kinds of causes you can find. Mistakes made, failures, guilt. But the truth is, there's no reason for guilt because we are all doing our best. And I say that a lot. I say that a lot when we talk about anger also, that actually everybody is trying to do the best thing, but just doesn't have the understanding or control to do it. But, it's a hard thing to accept sometimes, but if you look into yourself, you will feel that. You will feel that you've always given it your best shot, but it's not always good enough. Let's say you have an alcoholic father who is not taking care of his child. Just lets the mother do it, doesn't take care, knowing very well this is very hurtful for the child, things like that. But you can believe that this person does not want to do it differently. Because also this father is going to feel very hurt about the whole situation. But he just can't help it at that moment. He's trying, but it's not good enough. He doesn't have the strength, he doesn't have the understanding, he doesn't have the self-control, he's addicted to alcohol and what to do. Right? So, there's no reason to feel guilt for whatever mistake you have made. Don't look back. That's something my teacher often said. Don't look back. Just move forward. Try to do better, yes. That's all. Good. And of course biochemistry also can play a role. And sure, sometimes even such a feeling can come and you really have no idea where it came from. I mean, if you drop a laptop, then you know. But sometimes you're just doing your thing and you're fine, and then suddenly usually when it's like that, then it's your biochemistry who is causing this feeling. Constipation is a major cause of it. Impurity of the blood, intoxication, maybe some pesticides in the food you eat. Whatever, many disturbances in the body can make the body feel a little depressed, like your body cells are going to feel a little depressed. And then you're also going to get this feeling of being depressed. And understanding that is also very important, because if you understand that, then you know, okay, this is just my body, right? I just need a little rest, maybe a little fruit juices or something else which will revive my body. Some ginger, for example, pepper honey mixture, all these things which are a little spicy are very good because they will stimulate your system to get rid of that feeling, of that tamasic feeling. But basically, you just ignore it. If it comes just like that a little bit, or even if it comes because of some other reason, ignore it. Focus your mind somewhere else, do something else. It's probably the right time to do something you like doing. Yeah? If you're feeling like that, and you don't really have to work, then don't work. But also don't, lie down in a couch and, and especially don't start, right? Just do something really nice, something really uplifting, visit some good friends, have a walk in nature, play some music, read a good book, look at a good movie, why not? But understand that this is a feeling which comes and easily it also goes. If you are making this little effort and you are not diving into it. So, sometimes identification is so important. The moment that you identify with the depression, then, right, you think something's wrong with you. Then you feel, oh, I'm here again. And you identify with it, you attach to it. And from that moment onwards, everything will go wrong. And will further amplify that feeling and stimulate that identification. You've all watched like tennis matches, yeah? On TV, I guess you've seen some tennis matches. And that's so easy, you can see that there. A player is doing very well and doing fantastic shots, and then suddenly 1, 2, 3 balls, they go out just, on the wrong side of the line. And just because the player identifies with it and feels, oh, I should have done better, I should have made it, from then onwards, the game's lost. And sometimes then they can again, it's very beautiful to see that always, I feel, they can again get the courage and understand, okay, forget it. That's the thing that they learn. They learn to put it out of their mind and play it point by point, as they say, and just give it their best shot and don't get, attached to the past. Don't get attached to what happened before, just play it, and from that time onwards, again, it will go quite well, and then, depending, of course, on how the person on the other side of the net is feeling about it, and so that the whole game is really like a game about not losing that control, not losing, your self-confidence. It's all about self-confidence. So, some people get depressed maybe for some better reasons than others. Let it first be clear that there is no good reason for getting depressed. That really doesn't exist, because depression doesn't help. It just makes the problem bigger. But I can understand some people may say, well, you don't understand my problem. You don't understand maybe what happened to me in childhood and the things that were there. Or maybe they are coming out of a relationship with a partner who was very much oppressing them, making them feel small, making them feel stupid. Some people do that. All the time they tell their partner, you're stupid, you can't do anything. And after some time they kind of get to believe that, and they really go into this state of feeling, that they are useless. And so that can be a little then more difficult to get out of it. So then I must say, yes, you need to grow out of it. Basically, the feeling, when it just comes to you, you can just step out. You can jump out. You just put it out of your mind and go somewhere else. And 5 minutes later, you will have completely forgotten about it. So easy it is. But if you've been in that state for a longer time, if you've been in that state for days, weeks, months, years sometime, then okay, don't try to jump out of it, because it won't work. It might work, I don't know, but usually it doesn't work. And it's a mistake often made. These people, they are sitting there maybe in their apartment, depressed and not knowing what to do, and then suddenly this little bit of hope that I talked about comes, and then they start thinking, oh, I will become this, or I will become that, and then they are setting the targets very high, and they're very enthusiastic about it, and they completely have to believe in this dream to do something, and then 5 minutes later they understand. Oh. So don't try to jump out of it, but you can definitely grow out of it. It's a matter of building self-confidence. And the main way to build self-confidence is through discipline. And discipline also has to grow. You can't become, a very disciplined person in one day if before you've had no discipline at all. So, but start with some simple disciplines which you feel are, obtainable targets, and stick to them. And from there, grow. And of course, the more deep you have been into it, the more help you will need with that. That is why then it is quite good to go to some, spiritual place, some ashram where, there is some discipline and where you can just as a group do this discipline and grow into it, and that can be very helpful for a person who really can't do it on his own. But okay, many of them I think they can do it on their own. They just need to build up some discipline, and the little steps forward that they make will make their self-confidence grow, and then from there they can move on and go a little bit further and go a little bit further, and that way they grow out of it basically. And it's like a sports person, like somebody who jumps over a very high place, like 2 meters high. They didn't start with 2 meters. Even the best ones, they don't start very high. They start a little bit low, and then they jump over that. And okay, feeling good, and then putting a bit higher and jump over that. Very good. And then slowly they put it higher. No? So that is how you have to do it. Slowly, you move forward. You need some kind of plan, and then maybe you also need a little bit help with that plan. Somebody who you can talk about it and get a little help there. And definitely, what you also need is purification. Purification of the body will be needed because not only is this state of depression a cause for adharma in the sense of, bad food habits, bad sleep habits, and many other bad habits which create bad body chemistry. But it's also the depression itself which creates bad body chemistry. If you are depressed, then your body also is depressed. Your cells will be depressed, your organs will be depressed. Nobody will be doing their job properly, like you are not doing your job properly. So if that goes on for a while, your body will be full of toxins, full of waste materials. It will be really like a dirty place. And that in itself will also create a bad feeling. So if you don't do something about that, it's rather difficult. No? So all kinds of purifications in terms of, for example, fasting, food fasting are very good. It doesn't have to be like not eating, but for example, fasting on grated red beets is very good there because they are very purifying for the blood. Red beets. And you grate them raw and you eat that. It's very heating, like, you will not feel cold, and it's very purifying for the blood. But in that way, there's like hundreds of possibilities. We've talked about fasting on this and that before, so I'm not really go into it, but all these kinds of physical purifications are very good. Sauna is very good. Sports are obviously very good. Yoga, asana is obviously very good. All these things will be very good to help purify the body, purify also the energy, make the flow of the energy better. That will really also be needed. And then also, if possible, try to purify mind. Because mind's been out of control for a very long time. For a very long time, if mind was thinking chocolate, then it got chocolate. Right? If mind was thinking movie, it got movie. No? So it really has become like a very spoiled child. So then if you tell it shut up, it won't shut up. It'll just keep talk. And then if you have a very small little bit of negative thinking, then mind will brr, and then after maybe 2 days of feeling now I'm out of it, again you will fall into it because mind so rapidly, will jump on it. Mind is not your ally there. So you need to then put mind a little bit on a leash and whatever you can do. It's not so easy in the beginning to tell a person like that, do mantra meditation or do some other difficult kind of mental exercise. Not so easy, but some things can work, and definitely also pranayam, so holding the breath and breathing slowly, these things can be helpful to purify mind. And the one enemy rasa of Vibhatsya is Shringara, which means love. So clearly this rasa is also a cure for depression. And so a person who is depressed usually doesn't want to be around the people that they love because they feel ashamed about themselves. And because basically they want to stay in their depression. They know very well that if they are with some people who love them and care for them and give them a nice cup of tea, then automatically they have to start smiling, and they don't want to. Right? So, but they should want to. They should go for it. They should visit their loved ones, and if some of them really want to help, then they should be, open to this help and enjoy company. And if you have no company to enjoy, which may also be possible, then another alternative is art, because art and love are very similar and belong to the same rasa. So if there's no good company to be found, then put on some good music, look at some nice art, go in nature, as I said, this is always very beautiful. That also may be very helpful. Once upon a time, I also was quite depressed. It's a long time ago, when I was about 20 years old. And I think it lasted for 6 months or something. And, well, I just want to mention it because it was actually quite strange. I was basically feeling depressed because I had such a good childhood. Which is true. I mean, I had like nice parents and they didn't get a divorce or anything, so they took good care of me. And so then when I became a young adult and I started meeting other people and talking about their lives, I started feeling I missed something. Yeah? I started feeling like all these people who had these bad childhoods, they had so much more experience than I had. So much more understanding than I had into human nature. I felt quite stupid and naive. So I thought, okay, I have to do something. I have to try to feel really bad. So I went into depression. Really, I did it. And it's afterwards. Now I can say it was quite stupid, but at the moment it felt very, very real. That's how stupid depression really can be. And but at some point I understood that there's really no bottom to this well of darkness that is depression. I had this feeling, okay, if I go in deep enough, somehow I'll find the bottom. And then I have learned something, and then I can go up again. But truly, there is no bottom. You can go as deep as you want. It only gets worse. So it's really no use. The bottom is there where you decide that enough is enough and I'm going up and I'm done with it, and I really don't believe in depression anymore. As I said, depression is a belief. You have some kind of belief that you need it. You have some kind of belief that you have to do this. Some kind of belief that you are having many good excuses to be depressed. But there's no excuse to be depressed because it's useless. Right? It's totally useless. And what I actually did then was with a friend of mine who was also quite depressed because he lost his girlfriend. I mean, he had a good reason. And we went to do some survival. It was in January, and we went to the Black Forest in Germany. So snow was there, very high. And we just took our backpacks and a small tent and went straight into the Black Forest and didn't come out till after like 3 weeks or something. And depression completely gone. I mean, really, like if you are there in the cold and you have to survive, which was really quite hard in that place. It was a lot more cold and there was a lot more snow than we were expecting, so it was quite hard. So that really got us out of it. So if you don't see a way out, go to the North Pole, have yourself being dropped there, and your survival instinct will get you out of it, because depression completely goes against all logic. If you're there on the North Pole, you know very well depression is not going to help you. It's going to kill you. Yeah? So you have to understand that. You are, anyhow, like a work in progress. No? Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. No? The only wrong thing you can do with that is to stick to those mistakes and think there's something wrong. The moment you say, okay, I'm sorry, but I'll do better next time, there's nothing wrong. This whole place, anyhow, is an illusion. So building up confidence, discipline is what helps. And really, there's nothing so much more to say about it. But if you understand that one very important thing about identification, and then those other little things about your purification of your body and some discipline and some love and beautiful things, then you really don't have any more need. And I think now must already be like 10 years or something ago that I started this sadhana, Vibhatsya Sadhana, where you basically promise yourself that you will no longer become depressed. And you don't do it like forever in the beginning. You just do it for a day. This is a little exercise that you do. If you feel you sometimes still have this feeling, then okay, you have to learn this. And so basically what you do in the morning, you promise yourself, today I will not have any negative thought about myself. Whatever wrong happens, whatever I feel I've done wrong, I will think about it tomorrow. I will not do that today. So you just postpone it till the next day. And that's very easy. That's actually very easy, and that's one of the main things you will learn at first. That this little feeling that comes, this little idea that something's definitely wrong, you can easily push it away. That you can do. And then, as I say, well, when you can do it for one day, you can do it for 2 days, and after a while you just make it longer and longer. And I think there are many people who can do this and very rapidly move completely out of it. Until one day, in the beginning of the year, they will say, okay, from now on, no more. Whatever wrong I've done, whatever goes wrong, I'll just try to do better and not get stuck to it. That's all. I'm done with it. I see through it. I also see how easy that actually is, how life becomes so much nicer, like if you do that, and I'm just dropping it. It's, for many people, quite possible to do that. Like with anger, that's more difficult. With sadness, that's more difficult. With fear, that's more difficult. That'll take a longer time. But with this feeling of disgust, no. Once you really work on it a little bit, it goes quite quickly. And you can really say, okay. The feeling can still come. That you can avoid. It can still come to me today. I just look at it and say, come on. I don't go into it. I don't feed it. I let it die out. I just focus somewhere else, and then when I look back, it's gone. It's that easy. So that is the main thing. And I feel a lot of people are like, keep their depression on a manageable level. Like they don't let it go too deep. They still like perform minimum work, and so they keep it a little bit safe. But actually most of the time they are feeling quite bad about themselves. They don't have confidence. They feel everybody else is useless, and so they're just like there and living quite a lousy life. They are having very low self-confidence. But towards the outer world, they are like acting as if they have a lot of confidence, and they do that by pushing you down. They feel strong because they can tell you are stupid. So, yeah, sure, it's the same thing. The same thing. Not all people that are depressed are just sitting in front of TV. Many are just walking around and working and doing things, but actually, if you talk to them, and you really can get them to talk about how they feel, so much shit will come out. So a lot of that bad feeling will come out. We have to understand, in our culture, there's a lot of this feeling. You just look on TV and you see that. It's very unpopular to believe in something. It's very cool to believe in nothing. No? So this is actually a very depressive idea that is very dominant in our culture, and you find it in art also. A lot of art is very dark. A lot of the clothes we wear are very dark. A lot of words we use are very ugly, very disgusting. No, like the F word in English. It's so dominant in America, you can't believe how dominant it is. Many people use it more than once in a sentence all the time. It's like, what are you doing? So this is very dominant here. So some people, they just basically live in that feeling. And they don't believe in anything. And they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in any other people anymore, they don't believe in the system anymore, they don't believe in anything. They don't believe in love, they don't believe in yoga, they don't believe in any kind of thing that you can do to really make it better. The moment you start talking like that, if you're naive, you don't know what you're talking. So this is why they are there. It's not a good place to be. I mean, if you feel depressed and you want to make a painting about it, that's okay. And you want to show it to some friend of yours, so he can a little bit feel along with you, your sadness or something. But don't make an exhibition. Why would you want to make an exhibition of it? It's not going to help anybody. Except maybe other depressed people can feel, oh yeah, he is also very depressed, and so they can feel a little bit like togetherness with you, because that's why this art is so popular. Because people can see, oh, this artist, at least he is more depressed than I am. Yeah, that's why they like it. But so, it's a useless thing. I mean, you can sing anger and make it sound beautiful. You can sing sadness and make it sound beautiful. You can even sing fear and make it sound beautiful, although that's quite hard. But you can't sing depression and make it sound beautiful. That's ugly. It's just ugly. You can't do anything with it. So understand the nature of depression and you will feel, it's like something very rotten. Well, I don't really know what more to say. I mean, it's only 9 o'clock, but it's a very simple story. But maybe you have some question.
Yes, that you don't like in your life.
Sure, but you don't have to feel bad about it. Sometimes it's not very clear, for example, why you did it, or how it came about, or so then okay, you can think about that. But that's different from feeling because the people who feel like that, they don't really want to think about it. They don't really want to learn from it. They just see it's a big excuse to drop everything and lie down and don't do anything. That's a different thing. But of course, if you've done things and you're dissatisfied with it, you can study them. When I said don't never look back, you don't have to take it 100% seriously. I mostly mean it's no use getting stuck there. No? But you can sometimes look back. You can learn from your mistakes. But most of the time it's pretty obvious what you've done wrong. And pretty obvious what would have been the right thing. We've talked about that. We talked about Dharma. That I said, well, actually, you always know when you've done something wrong. You know. But you've done it anyway, and then you no longer know it because you find all kinds of excuses why you did it. But basically, you know. But so, you can think about things that went wrong, but not feel wrong about it. That's the main thing.
What's the difference between ignoring something and putting something away?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to understand that suppression of feelings does not exist. The only thing which exists is suppression of memory. Right? A person who had some childhood trauma, may forget what really happened because it couldn't bear it, so it pushed it very deep inside and it forgot about it. But the feeling will still be there, and that's why the person will go to a therapist and try to find out where is this feeling coming from. So the feeling is not oppressed. The feeling, is still there, only the origin of it, the cause of it is suppressed. So in that way, if you're feeling like, let's again take the laptop, it drops and you feel, there's only one thing to do and forget about that feeling. Forget about that laptop. It's gone. Feeling bad about it is not going to repair it. Yeah? So that's like a basic thing. But if then there's like a more complicated relationship kind of thing or whatever, and you have this same kind of feeling, then, as I explained, okay, you can try to sort out what really happened, to try to learn from it, how to avoid it in the future. But for that, you don't need to stick to that feeling of disgust. You might learn actually a lot more about it, going back to the feeling of love maybe that you have for this person, and then from that feeling, try to see what went wrong. That will be much more useful. And in case of fear, for example, anger, sadness, there I might even say, okay, a little bit like feeling this anger or seeing this anger and seeing where it comes from, help to understand, how to do better in the future. But the feeling of disgust is just a feeling of giving up, of no longer believing, And so then you can't really learn anything from that. That's why it's such a useless feeling. Anger, sadness, fear, they can teach you something, and for that you might a little bit observe them, yes. But disgust not. And then with anger, sadness, and fear, suppressing it in the sense of not acting upon it, keeping it inside, suppressing it not to your subconscious but inside, not talking about it, not expressing your anger, not, defending your rights. That's very wrong. But in that way, as I said, fear, anger, sadness, they have a purpose. If you don't tell a person what he's doing wrong and keep the anger inside, definitely you're doing wrong. If you are afraid about your bills, but you're not, even wanting to count how much money you owe, that's very wrong. That's suppression of that fear. You don't want to look that fear into the eye, so you don't want to think about it. That's very wrong. But if you are feeling, I dropped the laptop, oh God, why do you want to stick there? You can't learn anything. You can't. Just don't drop the laptop next time, And it's, even then, it's a useless feeling. So it's quite different from these others. It's quite different. Yes, or anger. Either you are blaming others, then you become angry, or you blame yourself, then you become depressed. Yes. Of course, they are the basics of yoga in terms of, don't want what you don't have and want what you have, and all these things. Those are very basic things that will help you there, sure. That will take it out at the root. But the main thing is when the feeling comes, ignore it. Know what it is, and know that it's why dive into shit? It's no use. And if you are seeing that, then you will not. Then you will really recognize it for what it is, and then you will not do it, and you will stay away from it. You can still be angry and sad and have fun with fear and all these things.
Yes, which comes first, depression, and then after the junk food, or still the junk food?
Yeah, well, they both influence each other, but a lot of food is related to manic depression. Manic depression means a person is one moment quite depressed and dull and doesn't want to move, and the next moment they are very ecstatic and running around and feeling they can beat everybody, and that's manic depression. And you just look at sugar, And you know that's what it does. That's very well described, the insulin problem of sugar, where at one moment there is too much sugar and you feel and you can, like you are having an overdose or something, and then the body reacts and takes away so much sugar that you feel very. So there's many relationships there in food, many toxins which attack your liver, and if your liver is not feeling well, then also your confidence will go very much. Yourself. I have a lot of experience with that, actually. And, well, the main thing is you can be kind, and definitely, like in the beginning, you can be kind, and give them a nice cup of tea and, like some good music. But at some point, being kind is not going to help, and you have to be a little bit strict. And you also have to accept that you cannot help them, they can only help themselves. So that is your defense against getting depressed. Because otherwise, indeed, you will feel, depressed yourself. So you can talk about their problems, but that is not really going to help so much. They just have to want to step out of it, and you have to a little bit push them to do that. No? And it's hard. It's hard sometimes, but it is like that. I mean, some people, they come and yes, they actually are ready to step out, and then you can help them. Already one foot is like going forward, and you just give them a little pull, and then the other foot comes and they step out. But those who are just standing there holding on to their depression, you can't help. And even if they come to you for help, then maybe they just want to a little bit like have you feel pity for them, because they feel not very much pity for themselves, so they just feed their depression with your pity. If you feel very sorry for them, that just feeds their depression. So don't feel too sorry for them. It's a useless idea they have in their mind, and they are the only ones who can get out of it and keep some physical distance. Like, don't give them money, huh? No, serious. Don't give them money. Don't support them. No? Yes, well, sometimes happens. Somebody gets depressed and they don't work anymore and they get in a lot of trouble, and then the people who love them, they give them money. Don't do it. Drop them on the North Pole. That will help. If you really want to help them, that's what you have to do. Okay, you have to follow your own heart in that. It's not always easy to be hard on somebody that you love, but sometimes you have to be. In that case, you have to be. And the moment they say, okay, I want to get out, help me, then okay, you can be there and you can be loving and kind and give them money. And, but have a program, have some schedule that they can get out of it, and slowly build up this discipline, start taking care of themselves, start going to work, start cleaning up their place. I mean, all these kind of little things that are quite important in life and that they have dropped. And then, okay, in that way, yes. But as long as they are staying there and complaining and only making some vague promises about doing better, or maybe some quite crazy projects and plans that you already know in advance are not going to work, then don't support it. Don't support it. You can say, I'm always there for you, as long as you want to step out of it. But as long as you don't want to step out of it, okay, it's your problem. You want to sulk in a corner, sulk in a corner. What can I do? So, and then if you are going to talk to a person like that, I mean a person who's really in a depression for some time, and you say, oh, maybe it's your communication skills, so we put you into some school and you'll do some, like talk school, they can learn that and become less shy and you will get out of it. Maybe if they believe really that is the cause and they go for it, then they step out of their depression, okay, they're out and they can do this school and they can get out. And you will think, oh, that was the problem. They will think, oh, that was the problem. But actually that was not the problem. The only problem was that they no longer believed there was a solution. No? So in many cases, if you do that and you say, oh, that's the problem, and that is here the solution. Oh, we've solved it. Then the person will say, oh, but I also have another problem. Yeah, I've done it so many times. Talk to people and finally we get to the problem. Okay, and okay, I give you the solution. I'll pay for it. And then they say, oh, but I also have this problem. Okay, let's go into that problem. Dig, and sort it out and find a solution. Okay, here is a solution. Oh, but then they come up with another problem. They don't want to get out of it. No? That's what I said in the beginning. That's what I said. I started the class Depression Forever because they don't want to get out of it, you know.
Not to go into it.
You ever been to Africa?
No.
There's more depressed people in Belgium. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Africa, India, I mean all these like poor countries where people really are suffering every day, you know, they are suffering every day, they are like struggling, being cheated, you know, all bad things. And sure, sometimes they feel bad about it and feel disgusted, and some people also become addicts there and things like that. But still, from my experience, I can say there's a lot more depressed people in Belgium than there are. If you are hungry, you are not going to be depressed. I mean, yes, if you're starved to death and you can't walk anymore, then, you know, sure, that feeling may also come.
Just only that.
But if you know, are in that situation where every day you have to fight to stay alive, then you don't have time for it. No. But you can still ask questions about depression. But for me, it's like done. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's useless. That's the only thing you have to remember.
Deal with the problem. So maybe not all depressed.
No. It's a luxury problem to get depressed. Yeah. If you don't have any food, then you have no luxury to get depressed. It's quite simple. And it's the word itself is wrong. You know, in the sense that that's also where people identify. They feel a little bad. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, are you depressed? Oh, you should go see a therapist. Then the therapist, he has to have money. So he starts digging and say, yeah, we have to find something here, and there must be a reason there, and sure your mother beat you, and sure your father was doing that, and you know, start imagining all these things. And I mean, I'm joking about it, but really, with some of the people I've had like visiting in my house and talking about their depression, after a while, I was really saying like, God damn it, why are you wasting my time? This is all just imaginary problems. And the only real problem is that they are imagining that these problems are real. That's the only real problem. If they can drop that, then it goes.
Sometimes I'm thinking maybe it's not only that. Like, I feel the difference in between the weather from here and weather from my country. We have a lot of sun. There is not enough sun.
Yes. I mean, like Scandinavia is known for many people doing suicide. No? Suicide is like one of
This can be also
options in case of depression. So, yeah, you know, it could be mobile phones, it could be non-organic foods, it could be many things that are also helping us to become depressed. But you still have the choice, you still, you know, have to decide whether you want to or not. And a lot of people, they fall for it, they kind of jump into it, and yeah. And I'm not blaming them, because it's not like a very conscious choice. I'm not saying these people are just lazy. No, they fell into a trap of their own making. No? But it's a trap of their own making. Okay, they fell into it, they got stuck into it, and stuck into believing that really they are depressed.
Yes, but when a lot of people do that, I mean, when whole generations have this problem, then it becomes a problem, and someone has to wake up them. I'm thinking, I don't know.
Yeah, well, ring a
Then
bell.
our children will have the same problem, or maybe.
Yeah, sure. They
we
pass
can-
it on to their children.
And then
Yeah.
where we go?
And then some doctor is saying, oh yeah, sure, some genetics are involved. So then you're already thinking you are genetically like predestined to become depressed.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, some people, will have a little different biochemistry than other people, and that's genetics. So in some people, it may come more easily. This feeling can come more easily than in other people. Like if you look at the Ayurvedic doshas, like body types, then I can say in Kapha people, it will come most easily. Kapha people are water-dominated people, more rounded body shape. They can more easily become depressed. But you can have a Pitta person, which is very fiery, which normally will not easily lose confidence. Because of this fire that is in the body, you can find a person like that who is also very depressed. So it's no guarantee either way that you have to become depressed or that you cannot become depressed because you have this body or that body. That's just a little bit like the start. And while a person who has a more watery body type will more easily become depressed than the other kind of body types, then a person who has a more fiery body type will more easily become angry. And a person who has a more airy body type, like very thin body type, will more easily become worried. So each body type has its own like particular problem. But that's just a little like feedback that you get from your body. But you are not your body. You can be above your body and not listen to it. So
Even if you have
don't believe any therapist who tells you that you have a predestination to become depressed. Don't believe that person for the very simple reason that if you believe that, he will be right. If you don't believe that, he will be wrong. So don't believe it. In that way, quite useless. I mean, they can do things these days with genetics, but not really, predestine you to be anything. You are made of the same elements, the same mind, the same energy, the same whole setup as everybody else. So you can work with that, you can change that. The main thing is to understand that you can always change yourself. You are completely like unwritten. Some writing from the past is there, but you can change the writing. Now, this is the whole story about the neural patterns. And the person who has been depressed for a long time has depressive neural patterns in the brain. So these will have a tendency to repeat themselves. But if you don't believe in it, they will shrivel and they will die and other patterns will come. Then you can change yourself. Only if you believe you cannot, then you cannot. Only if you think you are a loser, then you are. But definitely, if you have to believe something, believe that you are a winner. Better even if you can just let it be and just, deal with whatever comes best way possible without having any concepts to which you are holding on to give you some feeling of confidence. Confidence comes from here, from within. That's the connection you get in yoga. Once you have this connection, then you move forward and then you don't think about all these things. Well, let's just put it that way. I mean, Prozac is better than heroin. That's quite clear. It does the same thing, basically. But the effect is very different because Prozac is very mild and very slow working. So very slowly you will build up a little bit more of happy neurotransmitters, and so the feeling of feeling depressed is going to be a little bit less, and maybe that can help you to step out of it. And then more easy also to make it go again, because you can build it down slowly, and your body will not have such a big shock as with heroin. So But only as a last resort. I mean, if somebody comes to me and say, oh, I'm taking Prozac, then I'm not going to say, well, drop it, because they're holding on to that. No? So, but if somebody comes to me and says, should I take Prozac? Then I say no. As long as they have not started taking it, I would say no. Because once you take it, then, you are like making it official, Then you are officially depressed. Once you take Prozac. It's all in the mind. Forget this idea of being depressed and you will be halfway out. So, even Prozac won't help you halfway. So in that way I would not use it. And there are other things you can do, like we talked about that, like having some pumpkin and having some saffron and fenugreek, and we talked about many of these happy spices and herbs, and you can drink tea, St. John's Wort tea, which is also very like uplifting, and so you can a little bit help your mood in that way. But really, just step out of it. Just drop it, and as I said, it will have a little tendency to repeat itself. When it repeats itself, when that mind again brings up some thought like that, just say no. So in the beginning, yes, if you come out of a big depression, you may have to say no 100 times. But just say no, say no, say no, say no. After a while, it will go. So if you believe in Prozac, then sure, it's going to work. Yeah, it's the same thing. No? It's the same thing. So some fake Prozac would actually be the best thing to do. Bring some miracle pill on the market.
Maybe it is.
Anti-depression. Can be 1,000 different problems causing depression. But they're all no excuse for depression. Some people can be depressed because they feel they are not looking good. Or that they are getting old. Or that they don't make enough money. Or that their husband is stupid. Yeah, I mean, thousands of reasons you can have for being depressed. But those are all not good reasons for being depressed. There's no good reasons for being depressed. But it's so looked upon in this society as so very serious. Like many people write articles about it, talk about it, where is it coming from? It's like an epidemic.
Sometimes depression or fear is the only thing you ever know, and that's safe because you know it. And that's often why it's so difficult, because not being depressed is strange and you don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
So you keep moving back in the safe state, which is not safe at all.
No, I understand that. I mean, like, if you have no confidence, then you also don't have to do anything. And if you feel, oh, I do have some confidence, then you have to do something. And then you are a little bit like stressed by it. Will it work? Will it not work? And so on. And then, I can understand. It's safer like inside that depression. So that is part of it. Don't understand me wrong. I don't blame anybody for being depressed. It's just so stupid. Doesn't help, yes.
No, you're making yourself.
No, you are quite right. Exhaustion can be a cause of it, but believing that you are depressed still is the thing that is going to make it last. Like many people have a burnout. No? That's a kind of exhaustion from just working too hard and having too much stress, and then suddenly they cannot do anything anymore. And then many of these people, they just take a break, and maybe half a year later, it can take quite a long time, the energy is starting to come back, and they can come out of it. But many people also, they don't know what's happening to them. They still feel that they have to work, that they should have gone on, and they feel like lack of confidence in themselves for not having done that, and then they become depressed, and instead of half a year, they need 3 years, they need 5 years, because they believe in it. So it's the same thing. But sure, in any case, as I said, I don't blame anybody for getting there. It just happens. But what you have to understand is that when it happens, when this feeling comes, it should be ignored. It's useless. And if you need a rest, take a rest. If you need a deep rest, take a deep rest. But you never need to be depressed.